Hi.
Hi.
I don't hear you again.
You don't hear me? Is that better? Uh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Different. Is it your headset maybe? My head.
I don't know.
I can hear you well, so
Okay.
yeah. What are you doing? This is our last session.
It's our since our last session.
Last session.
So let's see. So before I start talking, I think all of my kids that I work with went into another building, but I'm just gonna check because they could be in this room right here.
Okay.
We're all clear.
Okay.
Okay, so I've been had a lot happen in the last month, including Casey visiting, and we had this really great experience together of just both being really aware of putting expectations on each other and well being aware of not doing that, and like being aware of, I guess I had a lot more clarity around who I am versus who I try to be around him, and like how that is damaging to me, but also that I'm the one that does it instead of him doing it to me. And then so basically we thought that maybe this trip before he visited, we thought that it might be the end of, we would just, have our last time together. But because we were able to let go of a lot of the conflict, and it was almost like it allowed us this space to just be with each other, and it was a wonderful visit. So we're actually feeling a lot more hopeful now, which is like really confusing and scary. But I've had this experience where, like, before he visited, I was feeling kind of finally like, okay, like I'm going to be on my own. And I was feeling comfortable with my aloneness. And then he visited, and I was able to be very close to him, but it also felt like I felt myself kind of retract afterwards. And since his visit, I noticed that I've kind of gone into robotic functional mode, where it's kind of like I let that part of myself that really wants deep connection open up. And since he's been gone, I've just been kind of like emotionless, and I've started to feel like, feels like I'm drudging, like I'm just getting through things, but I can't tell how I feel about them. And I'm pretty sure that's related to that part of me that like wants to be in connection.
Yeah, and the pain that goes with that, or the possible loss if he's.
I have had like a few moments where I am, like the other day I was doing yoga, and I was doing a hip opening pose, which they always say that's where all the stuff is stored, and I just started crying, and I realized how much fear I've had that I wasn't even acknowledging. It was just so deep down that I didn't know it was there, and then I just came up, and I was like, oh my God, I've been so afraid for him and worrying about him. And then another thing I've noticed is that I have been realizing how in friendships I've been reviewing like the over and underdeveloped things. You know, those in the training, there's like those arrows where it shows the continuum.
Yes.
And I was like, I feel like I'm the wall and the doormat with friends. So last night I was with one of my best friends and her girlfriend, and I don't really know her girlfriend very well, but for some reason I decided to ask her what she thought of Casey when she met him briefly. And so that's kind of like the doormat. Like I was like inviting too much. Are you still there? It's frozen.
Hi.
Hi. I'm so sorry.
I don't know.
Looks like it's still recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe we're both in a different place for our internets. Hopefully we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if this happens again, do you want to finish later or should we just keep working on it?
Let's just try one more time. What do you think?
Yeah. Okay. So what
with friends,
yeah, I was saying this. I asked my friend's girlfriend, what she thought about Casey, which I don't even know really why I did that. Like maybe I just wanted to make a connection, but I feel like that's kind of inviting too much for somebody that I don't know very well. And she just met him briefly and she said some things about him. And then she was like, all of a sudden she was like, I don't think you're madly in love with him. And it was like, my friend was very uncomfortable. And then this woman that I don't know very well was like, I'm sorry if that was too much. But then I took on this role where I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, you know, it's like nothing gets to me, but it's not true. And and then she was also asking me all these questions about it. So it turned from me asking her what she thought of him to her asking me all these questions, and I kind of felt like I was getting grilled in a way. Like she was like, do you want to have his kids? Do you feel excited about that? And I was being honest, but then I was thinking about it this morning and I was like, why did I just like kind of go with that conversation instead of being like tuning in and being like, I don't know if I feel comfortable sharing this stuff with you because I don't know you very well. And then before I left, she said, I'm sorry if I offended you. And I was like, normally I would be like, oh no, like, but I was like, I'm not offended or mad at you, but I do feel something. And I think I just feel a little weird. And like, I know that I said that because I've been talking to one of my kids, adolescent clients, about being able to say when something is not okay with you. It's just kind of like
authentic.
Oh my gosh, I do that so much, where I caretake other people because I don't feel like speaking up, and then I become the wall instead because I'm like, well, I can't trust people to like, but
you're noticing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually felt like me saying I'm not mad, I'm not offended, but like I do feel weird about it was a big step for me.
It's huge. Yeah, definitely. That's good. Good. Do you any other changes that you notice?
just like the more awareness, I think, but then lately just feeling like really cut off, like from my emotions, which I can function and I can do what I need to do, but then everything starts feeling like the grind. It's like I can't access that like goodness or like spontaneity and excitement of life. It just feels kind of like it's all regimented. Like I do this till this time, and then I do this until this, you know. So that's what I've been noticing since Casey left.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of strong feelings. I would imagine. Well, let's go ahead and do a little grounding because I know we have a limited amount of time since we've lost each other a couple times. Let's just do a couple of deep breathing, a series of inhaling, pausing, exhaling. Let's do that 3 or 4 times, and just let me know when you're finished and ready. All right. Inhaling and then pausing and exhaling longer than you inhale.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So we're continuing to work on the memory when your mom reminded you that when you were 3, you turned to the sign and said, "That's an emergency exit." What image is the worst part of that memory now?
It really doesn't seem to be disturbing to me.
Okay. So on a scale of 0 to 10, how disturbing does it feel to you now?
So this might be my over-analytical part, but I'm like, I feel like I can conjure things up. Like if I'm suggested something, like I would say a 0.5.
0.5? Okay. Bring up that number.
Sorry. I was just going to say maybe there's like something in my chest that tells me that. So I was like, well, how do I know that it's not a 0? So it's like a little bit of constriction in my chest.
Okay. Bring up that memory. Notice where you feel that disturbance in your body and follow my fingers. What are you noticing now?
I was thinking about how this theme of me being for others rather than myself has come up continuously throughout our work, but like I'm not feeling despair about it. I'm feeling like I've actually grown.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I feel like you're on a ship.
I am? Am I moving?
No, it's just like something about your clock and the blue blinds. I was just, yeah.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I just had some grief come up around that this is going to be ending kind of soon.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Just felt like a little zoned out. Like I was like, well, just things keep moving, but it's that same kind of like, that's the feeling I've been having recently is like, just keep going, but without pausing to feel, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go with that. Noticing now.
Unfortunately, I was noticing that my connection is bad again, and so it was just kind of stuck.
Okay. When you go back to the original memory, what do you notice?
I feel like longing for when I was little, and I like this whole thing of me being kind of feeling like a functioning robot. Like I I felt longing for how much emotion I had when I was little.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Just some feeling that I'm getting from like watching you in your office that's really soothing, and it just kind of is bringing up ocean like and some, I don't know, like images of like trips that I've been on where I've been on the beach and things like that.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I was actually wondering if you could have your fingers like here instead of really close, maybe like here. Okay. Yeah,
Here?
that's perfect.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
So this is a little long, but I have just been learning about the highly sensitive person and realizing that I am one and that my deep processing is something that I have felt a lot of shame and like frustration with myself about before I understood what it was. And that when you're doing EMDR with me, sometimes I am trying to hurry myself to get to a conclusive point of like, I'm done processing. When the reality is that there's a lot going on and I'm processing on a lot of different levels and different associations, and that I'm like coming to a more accepting place of myself with that.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
There's just more like feelings about this process and this relationship coming to an end.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Noticing just like that I can relax in this process and that it's not always about performing.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Just remembering like when Casey was visiting, how I was able to get to a place where I could acknowledge that like really deep level of want and need for him that a lot of my answers are designed to keep away.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I'm just missing him, like smell, hugging him, like yeah.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Just like wondering why it's so hard for me to continuously tune into my needs and be okay with needing things.
Go with that.
We froze for a minute.
Yeah, we froze. What are you noticing now?
Yeah, I guess like, because we froze, I felt like I was like, oh, something feels like it's moving, and then I was like, what is going to happen?
Yeah. When you go back to the original memory, what do you notice?
I guess I feel like a lot of, in this moment, I feel like a lot of loss. Um, Yeah.
Okay. You noticing
Thinking back to this time when I was a teenager and my dad got really mad at me. I can't remember if this has come up before, but he got really mad at me because I was running late to the DMV and he yelled at me. And then I came home and I did this like very superficial self harm. And it was to like express to my mom how I was feeling. And so right after he dropped me back off at home, I was so mad, but all I could do, wow, okay, this is making sense. All I could do was put away the dishes that were dry, which is what I'm doing now in my life. Is That's all I'm doing. It's like being good, you know? And
Mhm.
then I did this like tiny scratch but it was like me trying to show her how I was feeling, but also when I told her about it, she was really upset. But then when I showed her, she was like, "Oh, that's so small." So it was like it didn't work because
Mhm. Mhm.
it wasn't big enough.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. What you were needing was something much different.
yeah,
Yes. Go with that.
some protection. Yeah,